It doesn't get any better than VooDoo BBQ and Grill, located on Severn Avenue in Metairie, just off of Veterans. The food, awesome. We've already sampled. I tried every one of the sauces, by the way, and they're all great. And I had the chicken sandwich, but the sausage, the pork, you name it, it's all good at VooDoo BBQ and Grill. And a pleasant good evening to you, Ken Trahan. Welcome to another edition of sportsNOLAtv. Glad you could join us this evening as we break down Super Bowl XLVII, among other topics here this evening. And we do it with our normal panelists, including the outstanding beat writer for sportsNOLA.com, Mr. BAW, Brian Allee-Walsh. Good evening, Brian.
Woo, I'll tell you what, you were affected by Super Bowl XLVII. I have one question. We know what happened on the football field. What happened with the power outage? What? W-A-T-T, for you that don't get that. You know?
Did it take you all night to come up with that?
All night and all part of the day, too.
That's good. You came up short.
Short-circuited.
Thank you. And it's always great to have former New Orleans Saints wide receiver, former New England Patriot, Philadelphia Eagle, Los Angeles Rams, St. Louis Rams, wherever they played, I don't know.
Keep going.
All those teams, whatever.
Keep going.
Where's that ring, by the way?
Keep going.
Where's the ring, Torrance Small? Where's that ring at?
We would take it all. We would take it all. Well, one thing I know, the lights went out, but Beyonce lit it up, and we enjoyed it and enjoyed the game as well.
Amazing. You were kind of, I wasn't going to say anything about a wardrobe malfunction. I'm not going there. It's all good. Listen, it's always great to have Torrance and Brian here, but it is a distinct pleasure to have a great friend who, of course, was the first-round draft pick of the New Orleans Saints back in 1993, just bulldozed his way to stardom and was a Pro Bowl player immediately, Saints Hall of Famer, Pro Football Hall of Famer, Arkansas Hall of Famer, Louisiana Hall of Famer, Greater New Orleans Sports Hall of Famer, and yes, that jacket did fit him, by the way, and he enjoyed everything he could possibly sum it up in Canton. William Roaf. William.
Thank you. Glad to be here. I'm hoping we don't have a power outage with the lights in there like they did in the dome, but I'm not. It's great. It was great.
That static, Mike.
It was great to be back. It was great. It was great to be here. Had a lot of fun seeing old friends. Great to see Torrance, Ken, everybody I've seen.
Always great to see you.
Yes.
We're going to do this. We're going to take a time out here. When we return in just a moment, we'll talk with Willie, Brian, and Torrance about the Super Bowl as sportsNOLAtv continues. You win the turnover battle, you win the Super Bowl. This is no surprise. It's really the case in football across the board at any level by and large, and it certainly has proven to be true in Super Bowls. Ken Trahan, VooDoo BBQ and Grill, Severn Avenue in Metairie. Great food, great people. Come by and enjoy VooDoo BBQ and Grill. Super Bowl XLVII, breaking it down. Really was two different games. Certainly the stoppage affected the Ravens, but Brian, in the final analysis, it's a football game. It affects both teams. You've got to play. And I think the game itself, before or after the outage, kind of reflected the fact that these were two teams that were pretty even.
Yeah, and you know, the Niners kind of carried out this script in the NFC Championship game. They fell behind big, Ken, and they had to battle back. And unfortunately for them, last night, it was just too big a hole. You get down 22 points in a championship game like of this caliber, that's hard to come back. It's never been done. And there's a reason why it's never been done, because it's difficult.
Torrance, you look at this game, and it's pretty obvious that one team came out nervous, the other team came out pretty loose, and I thought it was very intelligent for the Ravens to defer when they won the toss, put the 49ers on offense. You could see on that first series, quarterback went one way, running back went the other, got a timeout, everything imaginable. They simply were nervous at the outset of this game.
Yes, 49ers, they played a little tight early going. As you guys alluded to earlier, we're speaking off camera, that the coach even looked a little tight. But that's how they've been playing all playoff. They started off slow, then they started to pick it up. It's just that they put themselves too much in a hole to come out, and that hurt them at the end.
Well, Willie, even on the first completion they had, the 20-yard completion of Vernon Davis, it's an illegal formation, and it's very obvious with the wide receiver in the slot covering the tight end. Somebody's got to be off the line of scrimmage there. That's just 101. That's not something that should ever happen in a Super Bowl game, right?
Yeah, that's football 101. And then just like you said from the onset, you look at the coach's demeanor. The 49ers have been, I would have thought they would have corrected this after the NFC Championship when they got down a lot. You can't come out there and get down like that and then come out in the third quarter. The last thing you can do is give up that type of long touchdown run. It just deflates your team.
Kenny, you're absolutely right. You think about it. They had 2 weeks to script out these plays. This is the first game of that coming off this 2-week preparation, and this is a bonehead play. And it did kind of set the tone. I know it's the first of 75 plays or whatever, but it really did explain a lot about where the 49ers were.
And the Ravens, on the other hand, looked very loose, very well prepared, and they were crisp as could be. Went down and scored the first time they got the ball. Looked good on defense, stuffed the run early on. They were well prepared, but they were obviously a very loose football team. And I think we saw that during the course of the week as well, Torrance.
Yes, well, you got to understand, here's a team that's been to the playoffs 5 years in a row. They've been knocking on that door. Believe me, they were going to be prepared. They were not afraid for the moment. They were prepared for the moment. And it showed, hey, my man Joe Flacco, no more. Joe Rocco now. You're Joe Rocco to me, man, because you rock. You did what you said you were going to do. You went out there and played, and the team followed you. You deserve the MVP. Congratulations to you.
William, you watch offensive line play, and I know it's always of great interest to you. 49ers very big, very physical up front. Baltimore retooled its offensive line, shifted people around. I thought they were very good, in particular in the first half last night.
They did an excellent job, and I give a lot of credit to the coach and for Brian McKinney, who took some criticism when he left the Minnesota Vikings and come back and play good and redeem himself and play the way he did. And my old line coach is with the 49ers now, was with us in Kansas City. I thought the advantage would be to the Kansas City Chiefs, but I think up front both lines played pretty well, watching the game.
Let's take a look at the statistical breakdown from Super Bowl 47. Rushing yardage, 49ers, big edge. Frank Gore was huge, so was Kaepernick. Passing yardage, edge to Kaepernick and the 49ers, and the total yardage, 468. That is the biggest total ever for a team that lost a Super Bowl. But then you see the turnovers, and then you add in the kickoff return by Jacoby Jones. Brian, you get the cheap touchdown on a kickoff return. You get the turnovers as well. And then you look at the third down conversions. Ravens were huge in that department. Red zone conversions, Ravens were better there. And then the goal-to-go situation, they were better there. So now you get a more revealing picture of why Baltimore won the game.
I agree. And to me, the key was the red zone. 2 touchdowns, 6 trips in. In this kind of game against good teams, you have got to score touchdowns. You can't kick field goals, and that's what happened. Can I just say something about the Ravens and being a loose group, Ken? I had the good fortune of being a pool reporter on Saturday for the Ravens, and it was like family grog. They had a 15-minute walkthrough, wasn't even a walkthrough necessarily, and they were as loose as I can remember seeing a football team under, what is a worldwide stage, and John Harbaugh did an excellent job of getting this team ready.
And I don't mean this as a criticism at all, but I do think that, Torrance, when you look at these teams, they definitely reflected the personality of their head coaches. Agreed?
Yeah, definitely. 49ers came out, like you say, a little tight, a little fiery. They follow their coach. On the other hand, the Ravens, very loose team, was ready, very prepared. Like I say, this has been a 5-year battle for them. They were prepared and ready for this moment, and it showed. The one thing I can say about both of these teams, they did not lose themselves in this game. Offensively, defensively, they stayed within their game plans and continued to work it. Even after the 49ers got down, they stayed within their game plans. Even when the Ravens, they had a little comeback they stayed in their game plan. That's the one thing that reflects both coaches as well.
William, what bothered me is the fact that the 49ers were controlling play late in the game. Gore makes the 33-yard run to set it up, and he never sees the ball again. And as an offensive lineman, they don't run the ball other than on first down. You know it's 4-down territory to make 7 yards, and you're gashing them. And not only do you not run, but Gore doesn't see the ball again. As an offensive lineman, that had to bother you a little bit.
It bothers you because when you get the momentum going, you want to keep running the ball. That's going to keep the defense playing honest. And I look at this game and I look at the teams, and you got an experienced old dog, kind of like the Miami Heat last year in the championship against the young gun, and they just weren't prepared and ready to go. The 49ers will be back and have an opportunity to get back because they're a real good team. But I compare them to the Miami Heat because you got a lot of old vets on that team. And when you got those guys in the locker room, they can kind of settle everybody down and make sure everybody's ready to play. And I think that was the difference in the game.
Yeah, I think that's a very good analysis because the 49ers are a younger football team. They have some older players on defense, not that old, but the Ravens are an old team defensively, and of course, Ed Reed's a free agent. Ray Lewis is retiring, so that defense won't be the same. The 49ers defense should be good, although I thought both defenses were exposed a bit. The Ravens look slow in the second half. The 49ers have trouble in space covering receivers. I think you saw that in the Saints playoff game the previous year, and we saw more of that now. So these are not defenses that cannot be had. They can be, and we found that out in this game. More on the Super Bowl, the power outage, and more as we continue from VooDoo BBQ and Grill on sportsNOLAtv. Our Sports NOLA trivia question of the evening. Before Super Bowl 47, who was the only team to win a Super Bowl when allowing 38 or more points? New England Patriots, that's 30 or more points. New England Patriots, New York Giants, Dallas Cowboys, or Pittsburgh Steelers? Again, allowing more than 30 points. The only team to win it. That's an easy question. That's an easy answer. And if you can't get that one, you must be very young. That's all I can tell you, because the other one was a memorable game, one of the best, if not the best, in this Super Bowl saga. Ken Trahan, sportsNOLAtv from VooDoo BBQ and Grill on Severn Avenue. So we continue with the Super Bowl discussion, and let's talk about the MVP award. Joe Flacco gets the MVP. Look, he threw for 3 touchdowns. He did not make any mistakes. 11 touchdowns, no picks in the preseason. Clearly, he was deserving, but in my opinion, Jacoby Jones should have gotten the MVP. Let's look at Joe Flacco's numbers. 22 of 33, 287 yards, 3 touchdowns, no pick. I mentioned the 11 touchdowns, no interceptions. Look, the numbers are the numbers, but keep in mind the touchdown pass to Jones was woefully underthrown. He came back, made a great catch, got up off the ground, made 2 people miss and scored, and he's the only guy to score touchdowns at 50 yards or more twice in a Super Bowl game, and he did it as the only guy to ever do it via a pass reception and a kickoff return. So to me, although Flacco was great, this guy out of Abramson High School should have been the most valuable player. If Desmond Howard is the MVP here in '97, then no question Jacoby Jones should have been the MVP in this game.
Yeah, Kenny, I'd love to know the vote, how the vote panned out. I will say this: there's no doubt Jacoby Jones made the 2 most entertaining and outstanding plays in the game. But Joe Flacco, he carried this team on his back. I think this award is as much for the 3 previous games as it was yesterday. Consider this. Joe Flacco was 73 of 126 for 1,140 yards, 11 touchdowns, no picks, a rating of 117.1 in the postseason. Those are unbelievable numbers.
You know who he tied when he threw the 11 touchdowns, 0 picks? He tied Joe Montana.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, this guy's full of information.
He's on it.
He's on it. But, you know, Kenny, you make a good case. There's no doubt.
Listen, he was special in the playoffs.
Yeah.
But the MVP's about the game.
I
and he
agree.
was great, but so was Jones. And by the way, they wouldn't have been in this game if Jones doesn't get deep on the Broncos and make the play that he made to force overtime.
Well, yeah, they do, but
if you want to talk about cumulative.
Kenny, to me, the key for the Ravens
Yeah.
was at halftime of the Denver game when Flacco went to Jim Caldwell and John Harbaugh and said, give me the ball, I can win this game. And he went long from there forward, that moment forward, and they went long. Their vertical game improved because of that moment.
But that's something he's been doing all year. Hey, Joe Rocco, I call you that because you're Rock. Joe Rocco, you have been doing this all year. This guy's been saying this all year. He's been saying, I'm an elite quarterback. I'm going to win. I'm going to help this team win the Super Bowl. And he did it. We got to give it to him. MVP, he had a great game. Jacoby, you had a great game. You're at home. Was it deserving? Yes. But Joe Rocco got it. We're going to give it to Joe Rocco. He's the man. Rock on.
And if you think about it, Kenny, it should have been the opposite. The Ravens had all the pressure on them for Ray Lewis and the whole thing with Joe Flacco, Rocco, you know, with all the pressure, you know, with the contract and everything going on with everything. So the pressure was more on the Ravens to get this done. You would have thought it would have been just the opposite. The 49ers should have been looser because everything was dependent on the Ravens with all the situations going into the game.
It's a very interesting point, but it didn't work out that way. And William, when you look at this situation for Flacco now, he's going to break the bank. He's going to get Drew Brees money. He'll be a $20 million a year guy, won't he?
He should be, yes. The market's going up. The salary cap's going up. So I think he should get Drew Brees or at least 50 to 60 guarantee. He's got to.
Well, clearly, Flacco is deserving. I don't have any problem with him getting it. I just thought Jones, given what he contributed and set a record in Super Bowl history for the most multi-purpose yards in a Super Bowl game, I think that's pretty special, especially when you make the big plays two different ways, and he made those plays. With all due respect to Flacco, he made the play on the long touchdown pass more than Flacco made that play, and certainly on the kickoff return, he made that play, as you well know. Goes without saying that both were deserving, but one of them can get the award, and they gave it to Flacco. Well, the Pro Football Hall of Fame grew this past weekend as well. It was great to see that take place in New Orleans, and the new members of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, Larry Allen, great lineman of the Cowboys, Chris Carter, wide receiver extraordinaire, different locations, and from the Seniors Committee, currently called Terrific, a defensive lineman, Jonathan Ogden, a special offensive lineman, Bill Parcells, an elite coach, Dave Robinson, former Green Bay Packer great as I recall, and Warren Sapp, who was a terrific, quick defensive lineman for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers most of his career. I'm going to go to you, William, because you experienced this a year ago. First of all, how special is that honor? You went through it. Tell me about it.
It's unbelievable. You know, you wait. You're sitting by the phone. You just waiting. You're on pins and needles. Just even if you look at your resume and think you qualify, it's always unbelievable. If you saw when Chris Carter got in, and I'll say another thing about the three guys that got in on the first ballot. Remember, all three of these guys have Super Bowl rings on their resume, and they all three were outstanding football players, and they were on some great teams. So that is, even though my situation and Cortez's situation we got in, it is important when you have rings on your resume and play for winning teams like they did.
Yeah, and you see Ogden and Allen getting in. They were contemporaries of yours, and they were great linemen. They deserve it, don't they?
Yeah, they do. And they both, like I said, played on some outstanding teams and have rings on the resume.
And Sapp, you played against. Sapp deserved it too.
And Sapp, and later, and the thing about Sapp was, early in his career, he was probably the best D tackle in the league for that whole decade. When he got to the Raiders, he was not the player he was before, but they had him play. We talked about this in the 3-4 defense, and that wasn't what he was good at.
Brian, it's hard to compare, but an owner, Eddie DeBartolo, he deserves to get in. Hard to compare an owner with players and coaches. I have a problem with that. It's tough. And then, of course, Aeneas Williams, very close. I think he will get in maybe next year.
Yeah, eventually. I talked to a lot of guys that have ballots in this the committee, and they were mixed. Some said that Aeneas would get in. Others thought it wasn't his time yet. But you know, once you get in the room, he was a finalist for 10 anyway. He made it to the bottom 10 of the final 10, so he's got a good shot. It's just Willie knows how difficult it is to finally climb the mountain.
And one guy that didn't make the final cut who deserves to get in, you two played with, Torrance and William. Morton Anderson transcended the position of kicker. He's the leading scorer by far in the history of the NFL. Nobody did it as well for as long as he did. He deserves to be in, doesn't he, guys?
Oh, definitely. Here's a guy, he kicked for a long time and what the all-time leader in points, if I'm not mistaken. And here's a guy not getting in. But it's very difficult for kickers, as we all know.
But he deserves it, Willie.
And I played with Morton in New Orleans and in Kansas City.
Yes.
So I played with two different things. Another guy that I think should have been on the final team that didn't miss a game with 14 years is Will Shields.
Oh, great
and I have
player.
a lot of respect for Larry Allen, but Will Shields, I played with him. He's a true pro. And he's a great
I'm
guy.
with you. I think they're both very deserving. We'll take a timeout here when we continue in just a moment. Brian Allee-Walsh on the hot seat. Will New Orleans get another Super Bowl soon? Or will it be short-circuited as we continue with sportsNOLAtv from VooDoo BBQ and Grill, 2740 Severn Avenue in Metairie on sportsNOLAtv. Our Sports NOLA trivia question of the evening. Before Super Bowl XLVII, who was the only team to win a Super Bowl when allowing 30 or more points? The Patriots, the Giants, the Cowboys, or the Steelers? I think it's an easy question. Just think Super Bowl VIII, think 35-31, think showdown of two great teams at their peak, and come up with the Pittsburgh Steelers beating the Dallas Cowboys. I think more than anything else, that was remembered for Jackie Smith's drop, but at the same time, it was a remarkable game, and it has happened once before, but it doesn't happen very much when you lose with 31 points in a Super Bowl. Ken Trahan, sportsNOLAtv, VooDoo BBQ and Grill in Metairie on Severn, and it's time now to put Brian Allee-Walsh on the hot seat with a very obvious question. Will New Orleans get another Super Bowl anytime in the near future based upon what transpired in the second half of the game in the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. So, Brian, will New Orleans get another Super Bowl soon? Will the Mercedes-Benz Superdome host another Super Bowl in the near future? The time is yours, my friend. Take it away.
As usual, an outstanding topic, Mr. Trahan. I think there's two ways to look at this. There's the short term and the long term. The short term is this is a major story. You're talking about a snafu, a power outage on a worldwide stage in a city that is 8 years removed from one of the nation's largest natural disaster. We had a lot to show in the week that we had this game. I think overall we came through with flying colors, and I think that this game will be, New Orleans will come away in a very favorable light in the long term. But when they go before the Super Bowl committee in May of 14 to make a bid for the game in 2018, which is Super Bowl 52, they are going to have to convince the other 32 owners, including owner Tom Benson. Of course, you know where he stands on this issue. But they will have to convince the ownership, not Roger Goodell, not anybody else at the league office. They're going to have to convince ownership that they have this problem in hand. There are some issues with the dome, as we've discussed off air, about the age of the dome. Regardless of the millions that have been pumped in to renovate, remodel, and energize this dome, it still is an old building. So, yes, I think they will get it. When they put in their next bid, I think there's a lot of things working in their favor. 2018 will be the 300th birthday of the state of Louisiana. They will get it.
I don't do this often, and I agree with the old one. That I do. I agree with you. I think you have great points. Not only that, another reason why I think they'll come back, they've been here 10 times, and they're going to come back again because the NFL likes what? Control. One thing the NFL likes is control, and one thing they can do, control New Orleans. Everything is in walking distance. They can control the hotels, they can control all the parties, they have control of the whole city. If you go in the other cities, you have to drive from one place to another place to get to different points. Here in New Orleans, everything is close, walking distance. That's what they love. NFL can control it. Yes, they will be back. It's more money for them, and that's why I think they'll be back.
It's a great venue. I mean, they put on a great venue. Outside of that, you know, everybody had a great time. I mean, the fans had a great time. So I think that's the key. I mean, it's great. The city's great. They do a great job hosting it.
Kenny, I tell you what, everything that we've said is true here, and yet it's still, there was another issue that I want to bring to our attention here at the dais, is that the practice facilities at Tulane, that really bothered me. That was, to me, as much a snafu as everything else. That should have been remedied and rectified but long before the Ravens or anybody arrived here for the Super Bowl.
Well, those things will be able to be correct. Those are some things that we can answer. The power outage, we can change those things. We won't have Beyonce next time. We'll tone it down to get somebody without as many lights and all. But other than that, those some things could be cleaned up. They love this venue. They love this city because everything is close.
Final thought on it, William?
Like I said, and well, I think another thing too, we're not talking about, it's good blood with the commissioner to help get it back here with everything that went on. I think that'll play a factor into it too. I think the commissioner wants to get good blood, and he said that he thinks it will be here soon. So I think that's part of it too.
He wants to kiss and make up. He wants to make it good. He wants to be a friend of New Orleans again, as he has been in the past, right? So it's time to render a judgment here. The judge will speak. I believe there will be another Super Bowl in New Orleans soon, and I hope it's 2018. I hope there isn't cause for pause as a result of what transpired. I do think there will be some trepidation on the part of some owners, because Brian's right. You've got to convince 32 guys. There are some that don't love New Orleans. Many do. Many think it's a perfect venue based upon all the things that Torrance alliterated, not the least of which is the convenience of everything. And nobody knows how to put on a show more than this particular metropolitan area. And I know we're prejudiced, but I also know that many of us have been to other venues to see this game and other big events, and nobody does it better. The week went absolutely perfectly, and we got Chamber of Commerce weather to boot, which was fantastic for the people that were here. That obviously spoke volumes to everyone about, hey, this is where we'd like to be. It's a controlled indoor environment. This stadium is the oldest stadium in the rotation, truly, for a Super Bowl in the future, because all the older stadiums that have hosted previously, they're no longer in the mix. The LA Coliseum, no chance. Qualcomm in San Diego, that's not going to happen. Rice Stadium, way out of the vogue, of course, and Reliance Stadium hosted a Super Bowl in Houston most recently. The old Orange Bowl Stadium, that's gone. The old Silverdome, that's gone. Ford Field took over there. And all the games moving forward are in the newer stadiums. We have a couple planned. Of course, the New Jersey market next year. Good luck with that at MetLife. And then, of course, you have one at Arizona at the University of Phoenix Stadium the following year. Lucas Oil, another new stadium, hosted most recently. Jerry World hosted most recently. That's the trend. Superdome doesn't really compare with those stadiums. Maybe you need to put more money into it. I'm just saying. And I know that's hard to swallow, but if you want this kind of event and you want to ensure that you don't have the kind of problems you had again in the near future, you have got to make sure that none of this can happen. Because at the end of the day, in any business, I don't care what it is, people don't want to know why, they don't want to know how, they don't want to know what or where. All they want to know is that you got it done. Excuses don't work. It doesn't matter who is at fault, and we don't have the final answer to that here, whether it was the power company, whether it was the dome, halftime, I don't know. We've heard all kinds of things. We've seen statements, and we don't want to rush to judgment or jump to conclusions. We're going to be responsible about it. But the bottom line is, regardless of what happened, regardless of what caused this, this cannot happen. It can't be the case on the biggest stage and perhaps the biggest sporting event in the world outside of, say, the World Cup. I'm just saying, I think we'll get it back. Hopefully we'll persuade enough people that this will never happen again. We'll take a time out here. When we return in just a moment, we'll take a look at the New Orleans Saints moving forward. That team that, I don't know, William and Torrance used to play for, as we continue with Sports NOLA TV from VooDoo BBQ and Grill on Severn Avenue in Metairie on Sports NOLA TV. The New Orleans Saints have their head coach back in Sean Payton. Mickey Loomis and Payton both signing contract extensions. They'll be here for a while, running Tom Benson's football team, and as a result, there's stability once again for the most unstable, I should say, franchise in NFL history from this past season. It was unprecedented, and it resulted in a losing season. Brian, I think we all feel that this is not a losing football team in terms of talent, but it's also clearly a team that would not have contended for a Super Bowl championship based upon their fatal flaw defensively.
Yeah, I think we were reminded of that every weekend of the postseason, that they have two elements at play. They've got decent special teams, they've got a great offense, and they need to really upgrade their defense, and we've been saying that really, since the first month of the football season.
Definitely that. The Saints definitely have to upgrade their defense. But the one thing we are right now, we are stable. We're a stable team because we have a head coach, we have our GM locked up for the next couple of years, and now hopefully they can start bringing in some talent, bring in a great defensive coordinator, and get this team back to where they belong at first place in the NFC South.
How do you see this team, William, from the outside looking in?
Yeah, I agree with that. We went through the similar thing when I was in Kansas City, scoring a lot of points and then giving up 30 points a game. So I say they're going to have to spend a lot more money on the defense side of the ball to bring in some good defensive free agents to show up whatever needs they have to have and figure out who they're going to keep. Get a defensive coordinator for science so he can look at the film and figure out what players he thinks fit his system and who else they need to bring in.
Yeah, Peyton's a big fan of yours. I know you look at him as an elite coach, and obviously when you lose a guy like that, it has a big effect.
I think that was a real big effect, too, on some situations with the offense, some play calling situations. Deshaun Payton wasn't there in some of the decision making, and I think him being there will help settle everything down, and Drew Brees will be playing his all-time type of football that he's been able to play the last 5-6 years.
Well, the Saints have some decisions to make based upon free agents, and let's take a look at the list of potential free agents. Unrestricted, Jermon Bushrod, that's right in Willie's wheelhouse. At tackle, Jonathan Casillas, Chase Daniels, Cedric Ellis, Devery Henderson, Ramon Humber, Elbert Mack, Turk McBride, Courtney Roby, Scott Shanley. Then the restricted group, Brian De La Puente at center, Justin Drescher, valuable as a long snapper, Junior Gillette, pass rusher, Chris Ivory, very intriguing talent, and then exclusive rights free agents, Raphael Bush, Michael Higgins, and Eric Olson. Okay, Brian, you've been over this list before. Keepers, and who's not here next year? Let's start with who's not here next year in your estimation.
I don't think Cedric Ellis will be here next year. I don't think Devery Henderson is a big focal point of trying to get signed during the offseason. A real keeper, of course, is Jermon Bushrod. You've got to have a left tackle, particularly in an offense with a Drew Brees, who is the main guy, the $100 million man. I think two things. One is this team took a lot of criticism. Spagnuolo was fired as a result of not being able to tweak his personnel to fit the 4-3. The same thing's going to apply here as they go to a 3-4 and bring in a new coordinator. They're going to have to tweak their personnel to fit that scheme. They're going to have to get some people outside the organization to come in and make that a good scheme as well.
Okay, Torrance, keepers, goners, and moving forward here.
Well, I think 3 players looking at that list: Bushrod, Castiz, and Ivory. I think you keep those 3. The rest of them, we can farewell to those guys if need to. Those, I think, coming to, since we're going into a 3-4 defense, I think that'll be an advantage to Castiz. Offensive line, we definitely need Bushrod, and I think if we're going to keep him, we can use him for trade bait, or we keep him and use Ingram for trade bait. One of them we need to trade to try to get some defense. Now, I know some names that weren't on there. These some guys that are under contract, and those are some of the guys that need to leave as well. And we need to reserve some of that money so we can go out and try to get some more talent to come in here.
William, I know what you're going to say. You got to pay that left tackle, right?
You got to pay him. I mean, look how many years has he started since got hurt? Jamal, the big tackle.
Yeah,
Jamal Brown, when he hurt his hip. So for what he's done, and look at Brees' number, you have to keep him, you have to pay him, because he's an elite left tackle in this league.
You know, what I don't understand about you, Mr. Small, is this. You know, you've been dogging Mark Ingram all season long. Why? Why? Mark Ingram?
No, hold on. I didn't
Why you want to trade him? He's a good running back.
Listen, I didn't dog Mark Ingram. Mark Ingram and Chris Ivory, listen to him. Both of them great players. One of them have to go. I just think I can get more from Mark Ingram than I can get for
there's no doubt about that.
What about Pierre?
I like Pierre. Pierre's too versatile. I keep him.
But I think he's the guy that's probably in the most danger because Ivory's younger and he's stronger physically and he's fast, even though Pierre's good.
But Pierre catches the ball well.
He does, and Peyton likes him too. So
exactly.
I don't know.
If you don't use the running backs, is it really their fault?
Yeah. Well, Peyton said they're going to run the ball more.
Again,
He said they're going to run the ball more.
That's why we should get rid of them and get a D-lineman that we can.
There you go. I'll look at that list, and I think you have to add Junior Gillette to that list, especially in a 3-4, because Gillette has pass rush skills. Bushrod's got to be a keeper. You got to pay him. I like Chris Ivory. I wouldn't let him go. He's the kind of guy who can come back and haunt you, in my opinion. And I agree with Brian about Casillas. He can run. So in this defense, you need outside backers who can run, and I think that's a guy that could benefit from this, like Martez Williams can, as Wilson can as well. And then, of course, you got the Super Bowl for next year in 2014. Odds to win Super Bowl 48. There they are. The Patriots. This is from pregame.com. It's pregame.com. The Patriots at 7-1. The 49ers and Broncos at 8-1. Packers at 10-1. Look at the Ravens drop off to 14-1. You think they respect Ray Lewis? Possibly Ed Reed. And there are your New Orleans Saints right smack in the middle of it at 18-1. Same as the Falcons. And Brian, I think that's fair. I think that's accurate. I think that's about where the Saints belong. I don't know about the Patriots being on top. I might put San Francisco on top personally, but I certainly understand these numbers.
You know, the Saints are always going to be in the mix, I think, Kenny, as long as Drew Brees is behind center. And, you know, it's a prolific offense, regardless of the mounting gate and all that. I mean, this is an outstanding team from an offensive standpoint.
Yeah. You look at most of these teams on that list, most of them have pretty decent quarterbacks or great quarterbacks. And if you're going to win in this league, you best have a good quarterback.
No doubt, William. They can play offense. There's no doubt. It simply becomes a matter of whether they can get better on defense.
If they can get better on defense, and I do agree with Brian Allee, we talked about earlier, I think they have to incorporate the running game and the screen game and get that back involved. You know, like the year they won the Super Bowl was running back by committee, but they have to incorporate more running game. I think that's going to help Drew Brees' arm later in the season and in the playoffs too.
Yeah, Thomas is good in the screen game, but keep in mind, they still have the mighty Darren Sproles that can handle that role. That's why I just don't think you can give up on a Chris Ivory with the physical talent he possesses, and Mark Ingram, Brian, is going to be here. There's no doubt.
I agree with you. I'm gonna give a lot of love to Mark Ingram. I think he's a keeper for sure, regardless of what this man over here says.
Are you an Alabama fan?
No. I'm a big running back fan.
I have it on good authority from a real estate agent friend of mine, and this is actually true, that Mark Ingram is buying a house. He's putting down permanent roots, and he's doing it in Kenner. He wouldn't do that unless he knew he was going to be primary and here long term. And guess what? He's going to be both, whether you like it or not. Get used to it, accept it, and you might see him in your neighborhood. We'll take a brief time out. We'll be back with a final word as we continue with sportsNOLAtv from VooDoo BBQ and Grill in just a moment. VooDoo BBQ and Grill, 2740 Severn Avenue in Metairie. You can call 343-4227. Check out all the sauces, the ribs, the chicken, the pork, the beef, the salads. Oh my goodness, are you kidding me? The mac and cheese. Seriously, the potato salad. Oh man, I ate earlier and I'm hungry again. Thanks to VooDoo BBQ and Grill. And we thank them for having us here once again for SportsNOLA TV. Okay, so we talked about the Saints and where they might figure. All right, it's not too early to predict. Brian, where do you see this team next year? As a playoff team, a wild card team, a division winner, a Super Bowl threat? How do you see them moving forward?
Well, I tell you what, I made a calculated error going into this season with Bounty. I thought this team could overcome all of these obstacles, and they weren't good enough on one side of the football. Before I jump off the deep end and make a prediction on this team, I got to see what they do on defense.
Yes.
Before
Okay, Mangini, Cornell, Rob Ryan, you see anything?
Rob Ryan, I'll tell you what, I'm not for Rob Ryan. I think that's a poor man's Greg Williams or a rich man's Greg Williams, whatever you want to call it. I guess if I had to pick, I would take Mangini.
Yeah. Torrance, what do you see moving forward for the Saints, and what about that defense coordinator position?
I'm the same. I like Romeo Cornell or even Mangini, either one of those guys. I think they're great defensive mind guys. I think they'll be great here. I think there's somebody that can come in and Sean Payton doesn't have to worry about the defense because I don't think he wants that pressure on him. But I cannot make a prediction right now until we find out who we have in.
Cornell and the Chiefs kind of ruined the Saints' season. I mean, of all the losses, that was the worst one the Saints had, William.
Well, that was a bad loss when they came to the Dome. And like he said, they might get Cornell and Mangini, but I think when do they start free agency? What's going to be key is sooner hiring somebody and then making sure they get the personnel they want. But like you said, even Brian said, it's going to take a year or so to get to tinker it to make sure you got the right people.
William Roaf, what a distinct pleasure having you with us. If there's any other Hall of Fame out there that you're not in yet, I'm sure they'll call you sometime soon.
I'm glad I didn't eat the barbecue before because I didn't want to got my son. So I'm waiting. I'll say it up. If I get it dirty, I can tell you.
William Roaf. He's ready to eat some VooDoo barbecue. Brian, as always, a pleasure. Keep up the great work, my friend. Torrance, a pleasure, my friend. God bless you. Good to see you, buddy.
Good.
All right, buddy. Want to thank everybody for being with us. Thank our crew with Adam and Andrew and Lenny and everyone for doing such a great job as well. And remind you, it's always great to have you with us. Thanks for joining us. Be a good sport, and God bless you one and all. Rounding third and heading home. So long.